Winning the game of life using game theory. Have you ever experienced talking with someone for a long time and then thinking about it for hours whether you were able to interact well? While you probably don't give every aspect of your choices in social situations much thought. However, believe it or not, there is a whole field of science that involves social situations and decision making known as game theory. It is possible to utilize game theory to examine both social and economic circumstances. It is basically the science of strategy and attempts to model reality. Game theory can be very challenging. Although it applies to games as we know them, such as poker, much game theory and research concentrates on how interactions between groups of people occur. Hello there! This is the Financial Fortune, and in this video, we are going to talk about game theory and how to use it to win the game of life. Before we start, don't forget to leave a like, click subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release new videos. Let's get started. So, what precisely is a game? Games in the context of game theory are a little bit different from what you may think. According to game theoretic analysis, a game is any interaction between several people in which each person's outcome is influenced by the choices made by others. Let's use a few games to illustrate this definition of a game. Sudoku. Is Sudoku a game? Sudoku is a game in the conventional sense, but not in the game theoretic sense. Sudoku is not a game because your choices regarding how to solve the puzzle have no bearing on those of any other players. There's only one player in the game, and that person is you. Tic-tac-toe. It's a game, right? The game can be played by two players, and each box that one of the players fills has an impact on the other player. To win, both players must react to other players' actions as best they can, therefore it is a game. Another scenario is when two business owners decide how to strategically arrange their stores to make the most money out of a limited number of positions. Since they can be choosing the same market, their actions are affected by one another. This is undoubtedly a win-lose situation. Game theory is the study of games like these, and game theory strives to describe games in a way that makes them simple to comprehend and evaluate. Hence, even if establishing your business may not sound like much of a game, in the eyes of game theorists, it certainly is. Cooperative games and non-cooperative games are the two main areas of game theory. 5 requirements are present in most game theory models. First, each player initially has 2 or more options or a series of options. Think of them as standard game moves like moving a chess piece. Second, every potential combination of actions or plays has a distinct result. In essence, you have a win or loss. Third, it's obvious how to win or lose, and participants stand to earn or lose depending on the result. Fourth, the participants are aware of both the payouts to other players and the game's loss. In other words, everyone is aware of what the other players find appealing. Fifth, the players are rational, intelligent individuals. When someone is rational, it simply means that they will select the one that offers the most advantages when given a choice between 2 options. Players must make decisions based on predictions of what their opponents might do because despite knowing the rules and the options available to them, they cannot predict their opponent's final actions. One player's victory is another player's loss in some game theory settings and vice versa. Others, though, permit gains and losses that are shared. These games allow you to utilize a variety of techniques to reduce the maximum losses that another player can inflict and base decisions on likely outcomes. If life is a game, then the first rule is to take advice from others with a grain of salt. As we previously stated, if it's a game, someone else will be playing, so there will undoubtedly be rivalry and sabotage. What about you? What do you think you'll do in this dilemma? Comment down below and ask your friends to know what they'll do. Now, let's continue. On the other hand, in a cooperative game, the offenders would be working together and some outcomes might be more likely than others. For instance, as you can see, it would become much simpler for them to decide in advance to just keep quiet. A coordination game is one in which cooperation is advantageous to all players. Neither side would benefit by cheating because the outcome would be worse than if they simply cooperated. For example, driving on the right side of the road. Driving on the wrong side of the road doesn't pay off, but occasionally, you lose without even trying. When one individual is permitted to decide on something on behalf of another person, it presents the principal-agent problem. The first person in this scenario is most likely to put their own interests first and work for their own objectives. Game theory can also be used in biology. In fact, its use in biology has enabled biologists to find many answers, which is amazing given that game theory was never intended for this type of situation. For instance, it has helped scientists better understand biological altruism, which occurs when an organism chooses to act in a way that is best for the species as a whole, even when it is damaging to itself. A bird may alert others to the approach of a predator. In doing so, it puts its own life in danger because it effectively makes itself known for the predator. But if the bird survives, this characteristic will be helpful when other birds repay the favor by adopting it. You might be able to foresee some of the techniques using these ideas. Who really knows how others are using it to trick you or what they're thinking? What makes the game so challenging is the idea of predicting other players' moves. While each player is likely to be certain of only their own move, they must nonetheless make assumptions about the decisions of other players and, more significantly, about how other players perceive the decisions of all other players. Essentially, you're no longer choosing based on what you believe to be right. Instead, you're assuming what your opponent believes to be right and deciding a response to it. However, your opponent is also acting in the same manner. Who is actually making the decisions here then? Whose mind is the decision actually made in? Put another way, shall we? Each player needs to understand their chances of winning. Guess the chances of everyone else and also what everyone else is speculating about their own chances of winning. Not only that, but you also need to be able to predict what other players will predict about your predictions about them. Looks like we're back to being confused. Although the game theory has lots of advantages, it would be hard to correctly apply it in every circumstance, which is another issue. There will be occasions when a mutual benefit is not the best result or when rationality may not provide the best solutions. When you encounter these, you have to not only identify them but also choose whether to apply game theory to the issue. Game theory's fundamental tenet is also quite dangerous. One of the main problems with guesswork is how emotionally and irrationally unpredictable people can be. The fundamental ideas of game theory are illustrated by several real-world situations. The way in which public goods and property are handled provides another excellent example from daily life. If everyone chooses to behave well and not litter, society as a whole gain. But you'll inevitably encounter one or more individuals who decide to act selfishly and go rebel by littering. As a result, society as a whole must pay to clean up, which reduces the value of choosing to not litter. After all, the effort to not litter is far less relevant if the street is already littered. You can undoubtedly see by this point how applicable this is to other circumstances in life, such as every significant decision we need to make. Game theory is simply intellectual conjecture because it can only study straightforward scenarios with clear constraints, and no matter how accurate a model is, it is always only a subset of reality. The truth is that we're all actively playing. It would be quite difficult not to be. You might as well play the game as best as you can, and that conversation you spend hours scrutinizing after the other person has long forgotten it, since the actions and decisions of others will unavoidably and continuously have an impact on our life. After all, we are simply trying to win the game of life, and the point of winning is to get rid of it, so perhaps it's not such a horrible thing. Game theory is complex and not all the time you will be aware of it. You'll run into a lot more situations than simply the ones stated, and it takes time to properly comprehend them. That ends our video today. I hope this video helps you learn more about game theory and how to use it. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your family and friends. This is the Financial Fortune, and thank you for watching.